Here for part 4 of the tutorial on 3D stadiums. So this is where we left off. I have the stadium textured. At least I think I do. We're going to test this. We're going to export this using the OBJ exporter plugin that I downloaded to use with SketchUp. The only difference that I did a little bit before this was I just added a little green area on the corners here. I believe that's how it is in real life, so somewhat like that. There might be some paths or whatever. I just want to add that for now. We can always go back and edit that after the fact. But I think at this point we're going to I want to show you how to export. So there's a plugin which I detailed on my original post for the tutorials that I post on the forums. I posted the link to the plugin. You download the plugin and you find your SketchUp directory, which I will try to find here. Let's see if I can find that pretty quickly. This should be under your C program files, SketchUp 2016, and it should be. And then what you do is you download the plugin, put it under your shipped extensions, and it's this file right here, objexporter.rb. That's what you're going to download, and put it right in this folder. I put that instruction on the actual post. So before you do that, before you load up SketchUp, before you export it, you want to have this thing ready to go. Now you'll know that this is installed when you open up SketchUp and you click on the file, and then there's an option for OBJ exporter here. So you'll know that's working there. Now I'm using 2016. Now if anybody watching this decides to use it with a newer version of SketchUp maybe 2017 or 2018, let me know if it works. I haven't tried it. I'm just kind of sticking with what works. If you guys are using the later version, please post on the forum if the exporter works for that as well. Okay, so basically the model's ready. I believe we've textured almost everything, on both sides. So I think we're ready to export. So just to let you know, I saved my original SketchUp under the folder, the Stadium folder, under the same name for the SketchUp file, under the Ballparks and Models directory. This is where the game is going to look for them in the first place. So that's where I usually stay. I usually have my working directories. Now this is all I have right now at this point. What's going to happen is whenever you're opening up your SketchUp file from, once you click this OBJ exporter, it's going to create all of the 3D files and texture files in this directory, and I'll show you that in 1 second. So everything's going to go to whatever directory you're looking at. There's no option to as far as I know, there's no option to customize where the file's going to go. So I just want you to be where you can find your 3D files that get generated. So with that said, I'm just going to basically click File, OBJ Exporter. At the bottom you'll see here it works a little bit, and there you go. It was pretty quick. Depending on the complexity of the model, it could take a little longer, but it only took a couple seconds to export. Now if I go back and look at my directories, I'll see that the actual SketchUp model file is joined by the 3D objects file, the material file, which will be come in handy a little later, and the stadium textures, which is basically images of all the textures that we used. So this is you can consider this generated. It doesn't have the 3D crowd yet. We're going to get to that. So what we want to do now is actually test this inside the game by importing it. And what I did was I created a separate league when I was doing my Nippon stadiums. I just actually used create a league with those teams and tested my stadiums with that. So I'm just going to use a minor league team just to, that doesn't have anything, and just create the Aloha Stadium here. So the POC profile, again, we can get the information from Clem's diagram. So what I'll do is I will rename this Aloha Stadium. Enter. It's an open ballpark. It's actually turf. Capacity we will change. I can find that out. I'm sorry. Just heading back. Let me just use my mouse clicks. I'm just going to open up Clem's baseball site. We'll go to Aloha Stadium. capacity is 50,000. So just change that to 50,000. Longitude, latitude, we can add that after the fact if you want. Distances. We'll get to the park factors after. That'll be another after. I'll show you how I come to park factors. Okay, so distances, we'll go back to the stadium. So it's 325 down each line, 375 in the power alleys, and 420 in center field. So just 325. Wall heights are 8 feet across the board. We have to do the left field and right field straight away. Was that 420 or 425? 420. 8, 375, 8, 325, 8. Now, we can just take our model if we're not, and just do a general tape measure from there, and probably just do straight away left field, which would be about 333, say. So this is what I just so 333, 333. It's symmetrical, so we're going to use the same. Okay, so we have our distances there. This is mostly cosmetic. It tells you, when you hit home runs in the game, it tells you how far they go based on what these wall distances are. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to select the OBJ file. So we'll find that by going to the Ballpark's models folder that we have. Here we go, Aloha Stadium. Select the OBJ. Load. Now, from now we're just going to do that. We're going to click 3D model. It takes a second, and you can see looks like most of the stadium looks good, right? Looks just like the SketchUp model for the most part. You can now how I move around is you hold the left click. You can kind of and just hold the button down. You can kind of drag across, drag around. Okay, right click. If you hold the right mouse button down, you can kind of move it just kind of slowly. It slowly moves. You kind of have to do this. I can kind of go down, and it kind of moves the whole field over. Now I keep the edit mode in global because there's no reason to move anything yet at this point. The stadium, and the mouse wheel zooms in and out. So if you hold the mouse button down, you can also go forward and backward. You actually can go up and down. So you can kind of use that to make minor. Just go straight up and down. Now I see that the columns I have in the back are black, but these are painted with the correct texture. So as you can see, the columns here are black, which means I didn't paint these with a texture. So this is a good example of how to fix that. So what I can quickly do is I notice that there's something wrong. I don't see anything else really wrong. I see the fences and everything seem to be the right colors. I don't think we have any other. Usually I just check around for any kind of things that stand out that are black, because that means that the textures aren't correct. So what we can do is try to fix this real quick. So I'll go, let me take that out, go to the select tool, click on here, I'll start over in the corner. You can use we'll use whatever texture we use. I'm not sure, so do a dropper on that. Click OK. Click on these. Now I think because these are objects, and you paint it, it paints it both sides. Now you double click on the object, you can reverse the face, and you can see that both faces are painted because we created these as objects. And then we didn't select the whole object. If you double click on the object, then you see you're working with just the faces here. If that makes any sense. Then you double click off it, and you get back to the regular model. So the good thing about having an object like that is you just have to paint the face once, and then it kind of takes care of both sides. So we're just going to go through and paint the faces with this texture. Oh. Well, that's strange. That one's a little strange. It's behaving Hello. Okay. Oh, this is the edge of the. Oh, that's why. Sorry, I'm just gonna undo this. Looks like I have an extra side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, select the model, and I'm just going to move that over for now. Delete that. Delete that. And I'll select and move again. There we go. So we had like an extra face there. Again, we'll just continue on with our painting of the columns. Okay. Again, I think we're doing the same thing here. Sorry for the quick zooms. Okay. Let me just do a quick move. Delete. And move back. Okay. This one doesn't seem to be a group. So I don't know why that's acting that way. I thought we did the whole group, but it's possible we did not. As you can see, so these weren't groups. These must have been exploded, or so if you see that, I will just fix. Let me just reverse these just to make sure we don't have that. Sorry, my camera thing is not working very well. I gotta select the fronts here. Oh, okay. Well, these were much better when they were groups. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint each face here individually. That for the rest of these here. 1, 2, and then we'll just do the reverse of all. Select all and reverse. Select all with the same material. Reverse. Select all. Okay. So that should do it. Now, so what we're going to do here is now that we fixed the texture, we'll just do another OBJ export, and it just overwrites whatever's on the folder. So that took 3 seconds. And then all we simply do is go back to the game, click off the tab, say just go to the ball locations, click back on the 3D model, and that should refresh the model. And as you see, here's the columns here are now fully textured. So we're looking good. I think we're pretty happy with the way it looks. We don't have any backgrounds on this yet, so I'm not going to get to that point just yet. So I just want to open up my thread, just so I can kind of review what we're supposed to be going over in this particular. I'm just going to go to the 3D mods. Here's my tutorial, and then I basically organized the first post here to just to have all my videos here. So this one, exporting the model, which I just went over, importing and testing it, which we went over, configuring the 3D crowd. So 3D crowd. I'll go back to the model. So this is the 2D crowd. Obviously, this is the crowd that we modeled. Now, the whole point of the 3D crowds are that the 3D crowds are held. The textures for those are held inside the game folder. I believe they are located a directory above the ballparks. or actually in the Ballpark, not in the models. They're directly above the models. I don't remember what the heck the names of the textures were. I don't think it's anything I can find right here. But so what happens is that we have to, on the models at Aloha Stadium, we have to edit this MTL file. One second, let me just. So we're going to edit the MTL file, and I use a program called Notepad++. I think you can use most editors or any kind of thing for XML editing. So if you don't have Notepad++, you can download Notepad++. So you edit with Notepad++, and this brings, well, updates. You don't need to update everything right away. So this brings up a materials list, basically, with various values on what materials need to do. Now, what you need to do is look for the crowd textures names that we painted onto the model, and most of the names are pretty much grouped together. So we'll just scroll down. Seating attendance. Okay, so these are the ones we want. As you see, here's the different colors: red, gray, blue, whatever they're called. So each one of these we need to replace. As I have previous stadiums here, and I don't have the value, but I can paste this on the. I can put this on the model, but you have to copy these 4 lines pointing to this seating popularity picture, which is basically the 3D crowd piece. Now this one happens to be popularity 2. This happens to be 1 through 4, just like we have on that regular seating textures that we used. 1 being the lowest, the sparsest crowd, 2 being the next sparse crowd, 3 being almost full, and 4 being full as far as attendance goes, as far as the seating. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy these 4 lines, go to Aloha Stadium, and we want to replace each one of these 2 lines with the 4 lines. So we'll start from the top here, gray. So we paste that there, and since this is a 1, seating attendance 1, we want to replace this 2 with a 1, because we should need to keep this in sync with what we have. Paste the same thing here. This is a 2 already, so we can keep that there. This is also a 2, so we're just going to paste that and keep it there. This is also a 2. We're going to paste that and keep it there. This is also a 2. We're going to paste that and keep it there. There's a lot of 2s here. I don't know why there's so many of them, but okay, there's usually not that many. So this is a 3, so we're going to paste that, change this to a 3. I think it's because we pasted okay, so paste that there, make it a 3. Paste this here, make it a 3. And this is a 4, so paste this here, make it a 4. And the last one, I believe, is here. We'll make it a 4. Okay, now we save it. Now the only thing is, and we need to test this, but anytime you use the OBJ exporter function in the game, on SketchUp, you'll need to redo this, because this gets overwritten whenever you do an OBJ export. So what I like to do is, if I'm testing, I'll just copy, and something was wrong and I had to change something, I'll make sure I copy this, all the seating attendance first, just copy that, and then what happens is when they generate a new one, I just find the same section and paste this over that, and it just makes it quick. So anyway, we make the changes, we save the file. Now we can go back, click off the 3D model, click back on the 3D model, and here's our 3D crowds. Pretty simple. All right. Oh, I see that we have one black section here. So this time, sometimes this happens. Now, I don't think that section was made. This black section can happen when one of 2 things. One thing I'm not too sure about, but the other one I know happens when one of the faces is not facing the right direction. So one of the faces was on the dark side, not on the white side. You would see this. Now we can check that. So that happens to be this section right here. So what I'm going to do is, we can do under the view menu, we can do face style monochrome, and you can see everything is white like it should be. So that's not the issue. Sometimes the issue happens to just be the type of type of face. So, I mean, the type of texture we use in that particular location. I don't know why, but all I've done was just mess around. So I click on the eyedropper. This is the seating attendants 2 gray. And this is more, you just have to keep testing. So sometimes what I do is I'll use a different. So this is this is all 2 grays. So I will use a seating attendants 3 gray just to see if that makes a difference. So let me go to my stadium textures. Sometimes just changing the texture does that, eliminates that whole issue. Seating attendants 3 gray. Edit, make that 100. And we'll do a file save. And we'll do an OBJ export. Now this will change the material file. So now I have it still open, so I just want to say if I want to reload it, it goes back to the way it was. Now I'm afraid to do, since I added another texture, I'm afraid to basically copy over everything because I might miss something. So I'm just going to go through and quickly change this to 1. I'm just going to just do what I did before. Hopefully it works, but this time that's 2. That's 2. That's 2. That's 2. That's 2. That's 3. That's 3. And that's 3. And that's 4. And one more makes 4 again. Now, there should be another gray 3 unless I missed it. Sometimes because we just added, oh here we go, see, sometimes you have to find it. That's the newest texture that we just added. I'm just going to add that and change that to a 3. So this can be a little tedious. Save it. Now hopefully we test this again and hopefully that's gone. We'll see. And there it is. Oh no, it's still there. Okay, so we got to keep fooling around with this and testing it. So this will take up a little time. So let's try by, and the other thing I do sometimes is just change the seating, go back to the seating 1, and then just do an eyedropper on this one. Or we just do everything. We can actually change this to smaller or bigger. We can do 125. Makes it a little bit bigger, a little bit noticeable. We'll try the OBJ exporter. Oh. So this one I'm going to copy everything from here all the way up to here before I alright, I'm going to reopen this again. So let's find the texture, the first texture that I meant. Okay, so here we go. Oh, that's already there. Let's just do this again. Yes. Okay, so the seating attendants all the way down to where the gray was. Save. Test. It's still black. I'm going to stop this while I figure it out. Pause. Forgive me for 1 second. Okay, I got that figured out. I basically had to, for some reason there was an issue with this area up here, and I need to go into SketchUp and just basically paste a different texture in there. I use the number 2 for blue again. I just pasted it there, put it on both sides, re-exported, re-updated this material file, and then it came out fine. So this is what it's going to look like in the game. This is in the game. Now you can have some fun with this because you can, you can on the display attendant you can change the level to full. That's what it looks like when it's full. It's basically everything. So it doesn't really matter what level you use because at some point it can be low or empty. It can be full or empty depending on what. But the average is going to be whatever level you use. So as you can see that the behind the plate is mostly full, whereas in the bleachers it's kind of sparse. So, but everything else looks pretty good. We'll just zoom. We'll just kind of push our way over here. So got the 3D crowds down. Now just to go back, I just wanted to say we'll do the 2D diagrams after. What I want to work on right now for this session is just to do the 3D grid, because that's important. So the 3D grid, if I select show grid and face, it's a little off facing the other way, the default grid. So the first thing we want to do is we want to align that grid up to the field. So how we're going to do that is we'll turn this off, and what you do is you want to kind of line this up and zoom in onto the infield. So what I want to do is I want to hold the 1 key, and I'll click on the bottom of home plate like that. That shows you it's in the little red. You see the red dot shows there. Hold the 2 key. Click behind the bag on first base right here. Press that and you see a green dot. And just go over to the third base. Hold the 3 key. Behind the third base. I'm going to have to find it. Right there. There's a yellow dot. So you have all 3 dots there. And press the 4 key without holding any button. And then if you click the show grid face, it's lined up to your field. Just like that. Now, you're going to have to go through and change all these little points to match up to the field. So, how you do is you click on each one of these points one at a time, and you just press the Q to extend. Now, when it's basically you just want to extend everything out to where the dugout is and the field, or the boundaries of the field. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do the little square there's where the actual dugout is. We'll adjust that after. So we just want to kind of go through each. This is a pretty straightforward field. It's pretty straight and there's not too many angles, which is good. Oops. I want to just kind of make sure you go right now. Then you press. So that's the Q is to expand. If you want to bring something closer, you press W. We'll just get to that part. We'll just do the file territories right now. Let's go over here, press Q so it expands. That's about as far as you can get for the file territory behind the plate. Okay. Alright. Looks like so I just kind of move around to give you the best vantage point. There we go. So just go there. Oh, sorry, that's because I have to move. Once we move this one, the other one goes along with it. So I'll move that, and this one just kind of, I don't know why, that just kind of goes perpendicular with the foul line. So we get as close to the foul line as with that, and so we're kind of moving along. And now we want to get to the point where we can get to the walls. So, and it's hard to see the fence, as you can see. The closer you get, you can see them. So what we want to do here is just kind of get close to the wall, but not going through the wall. So just kind of just use the Q to go all the way until you can adjust it with the W. And then we can click on that one again. The A button brings the fence down. You can kind of get it as close as you can get. I want to be consistent since it would be nice if this actually could give you an actual foot number that you could enter in and just have it go to that distance, because we know that this is 8 feet tall. Okay, it doesn't really matter where these go, but so you can also add and delete points here. So if you had more of a curve, which we'll get to, these points we don't really need. So everything in between the lines here, if there's extra points, they can be removed. So since we have a straight line here, we can actually click on this line, this one here, and we can do delete, and it will remove the extra points there. See? So we'll just move this. Whoops. There we go. Keep that. Move this whole thing over until we get to the wall. Oh, bring it back one. Bring it down. You have to kind of move the camera, keep moving the camera. That's close enough. And we can also, when clicking on this, you can select what type of wall we have. So we click that, and you can select hard canvas. I'll just do canvas. I mean, you can do fence too, but since it's both, I just like to use. Bring this down. This should be even. Okay. So now you can see we have a curve here. So if we brought this straight back to center field, it's going to be a lot of area there, so we want to add a few pieces. Do 3. So just basically want to, doesn't really, so that gives it more of a curve. Same with this. Let's add 1, 2, 3. Bring it to the edge and back. That's good, and then we want to bring it down to the wall, obviously. Let's get a fool around with it. Okay, you'll get good at it as you do more and more. Again, so now we have basically another straight piece. So these we can all delete and just make it all one big straight. It makes it easier. The less points, the better. Obviously, if you don't need them, just click. Okay, that's good. All right. There you go. That looks pretty good so far, and we'll just bring it's pretty much on line with you can see it's a little bit off on the foul line, but I think it's pretty close. I'm happy with that. Okay, we'll leave that there. We'll bring it down a little bit. So we have our field grid all set. Now we want to save 3D model, and that's pretty much the grid. Now we have also the tribune heights, which is basically where the ball is. You can click edit. Let me just click on a point here. You click edit tribune height, then we edit the heights of these pieces. So if we use the same A and S keys, basically go down to where the crowd is, and it's basically where it's where the ball ends up when if it leaves the park. Like, you either see it land on the crowd or it just disappears. Now you can just basically bring these down until you see it hit into the crowd. You could just have that go around the field. I don't really see a big difference to use these or not. So let me just see if I hit the. Sometimes you go the wrong way, or you can use the up and down arrows here. If you hold it, you can see it's been pretty far down. I use the. Whoops. The tribune height again. Hit the up arrow. Just do that. So that's what that is. Not going to worry too much about these. I mean, if you want to be a perfectionist, like I usually am, we can go and spend time doing every one of these. I'm not going to do that. So if you want to go back and touch up the rest of these, you can do that. All right, so we have our stadium, we have our in the game, we have our diagram. We have the grid set up. What else is next here? Okay. Well, the 2D diagram I can quickly show you from. We can create that from SketchUp. So what I do is, well, first of all, what you can do to make the diagram, you can do the edge styles. Click off profiles, and you do view edge style. Click off edges, so we don't see. So this more looks like what you see in the game. And we also want to click off guides and axes. So that's basically what you see in the game. So what I do to create the 2D diagram is I select the sections that I want to keep. So basically I want to have the field, warning track, the infield, and these these coaching boxes here. We can just double click these and hit Control, and basically hit Control C to copy, and then I'll just move these using the hand. I can just kind of move that out of the way and paste it into and then as you see, we have like a full field diagram, and you can just select off of that. And I just export this to an image. Now you can go to Camera, Standard Views, Top, and this will bring you to give you a top-down. Now sometimes the follow lines will disappear for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if you can zoom in. You can use this hand to move it around, zoom in, try to get it as much as possible. All right. So then what you do is File, Export, 2D Graphic, and I will like to export it to my Aloha Stadium as a PNG file, and I just add a little Aloha Stadium diagram as the file name. Hit enter. Now we have to do a little touch up on this. So here's the diagram. I want to edit this. Open with. How do we open it with? Should open it with. I don't know why Photoshop isn't here. There we go. So I'll just open it with Photoshop. You can use any other program as well. I use Photoshop. Just give me 1 second. So here's the picture, and what we want to do is create a new image, 600 by 600 pixels. Oops. Oh, sorry. I want to make it transparent as well. .600 by 600 background is transparent. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll just put these side by side, and just want to drag this over. Want to resize it to fit. Control T here. Shift Alt, and this will kind of scale it down. Basically, you want to fit the field. I like to fit it from as much on this image as possible, so we can get most of it, cover most of that. If you can't cover the whole 600 by 600, that's fine. So we'll leave this like this. Hit yes, apply, transform, and then what we want to do is select with the magic wand the outside and get rid of it. And select, deselect, close this image, and we want to save this as the PNG and where we were. So I'm just going to go. I have this on the Aloha Stadium. Here's the original file that we saved from the SketchUp. Save it as that. Overwrite it, and then back in the game, we can go to Pictures and Coordinates. Select Diagram Picture. Just got to go back to Aloha Stadium. Select the diagram, load, and then action. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to see the diagram, and there it is. We'll change the coordinates after. Now the same thing with the default day and night, which we can do. And for this purpose, I'll just take a day photo or a night photo. It doesn't really matter because we don't have a background yet. That's going to be another episode. So the day, let's see, so let's change this to daytime. Alright, so what I try to do is, oh here, we didn't do the camera angles yet either. So I move around, and what I generally do is try to get an overview camera angle that I use for my photos. So, see, I can get that back in the way. So I kind of zoom in a little, use the right click to just kind of step in a little bit. Kind of get the file poles in play, by moving it side to side. Try to get it centered. There we go. So that's good enough. I mean, so you can get it perfect the way you want it. This would be my overview. Now you go to camera angles, save cam, create new, and I usually call it overview. Now this would be what I would use for my picture, my image. So what I'll do is I'll go to snipping tool. I don't know if it's, there we go, snipping tool. New. Just basically select this whole area. It's pretty simple. Select the whole area of the park that you want. Save. Go to Aloha Stadium. You want to turn this into a JPEG. And what I do is call this Aloha Stadium D, the daytime JPEG. Save. Now that that's saved, you can simply just save that off. Now that that's saved off, you can just go to the daytime picture back in the game, find the D, load, and now we'll just do the same thing for the night because it doesn't this purposes. So now you can change there's the daytime picture. You can obviously, that's what I do. So back to the camera angles again, go back to the 3D model. There's the nighttime. So now we have a camera angle there. What I like to do is also create a wide angle low. So I try to get over home plate as much as possible. Kind of bring it down low and close so you see that you can't see the whole field. So now what we use is this edit camera's FOV. And I just usually just keep doing a plus until you can see the whole field. You can kind of move it around a little bit more. You get more of a low view. Save cam, create new, and I just call it wide dash low. Hit OK. Now we have two camera angles, which is good because now you can switch between them. So no matter where you go, if you're looking around and you're like, oh man, I can't get back to where I was, all you do is go to camera angle and you're back to where you were. So that's important to set the camera angles. And now I always save 3D model just as a habit. That's basically how you can make minor adjustments using these degrees. If you wanted to kind of make camera angles, you could kind of use now plus and minus. Now these things use this number here as how much it moves. If you're going to make fine adjustments, and you could do this with the grid as well, I like to keep it down to if you change this to 0.1, then you make see if you click Y, if you click the movements, it doesn't do as much. You hold it down, it kind of moves it smoother. You can kind of move it around as easier. That's a little tip. Okay, so we got that down. We got the 2D diagram, we got the 2D day and night photos, and we're going to set the 2D ball locations. Now this is all part of what I do. So the 2D ball location. So it's pretty tedious to do this, but it's actually made simpler recently by my request. So what we'll do is go to the pictures. I usually start with the diagram, make sure that's okay. Now you can see these are a little off. So what I do here is just basically click and drag these down. The lefty batter goes here, righty batter is pretty simple. Runner on first here, runner on third here. Just kind of bring everything down a good chunk. First baseman above that. runner on second, right on second base. Second baseman can go right here. Shortstop can bring it down here. Left fielder you can kind of bring it there. Center fielder just there. That's pretty simple. I mean, that's the diagram picture. I don't mess around with the day and night diagram because I just leave that the way it is. I feel like it's kind of cluttered enough as it is. I don't want to mess around. People can obviously do that as much as you want. Then the ball locations, it looks a little messy, but the only thing you're interested here in is the wall left field line, which you kind of make sure you put this left corner, top left corner at the line. Wall left center, put this at the wall around left center field, top corner anyway. Wall center field, you want to put the top left corner right at center field. And then wall right center, kind of put that across. Wall right field line, this is a little more tricky. You have to kind of click up on the left hand corner and bring it down. And then we have to do 3L. Put that right on the first base. HP goes right on home plate, the top left corner. And 5L goes on third base. Now once you've done those six positions, you go to Actions, Auto Arrange All Locations, hit OK, and that pretty much sets the locations. I mean, good enough for my taste. You can always do some fine adjustments, but the infield looks a little bit off. So I mean, it looks like these could be moved a little bit back, like 6 could go here, 5 could go here, 4 could go back here, 3 could go back here. So that's good enough for me. Now that's that. Now we want to do the daytime picture locations. These are obviously a little off. We want to do the same things. So there. You have to move these out of the way. Center field. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I like to. Sometimes I'm a perfectionist, even though I don't really use these in game because I mostly use the 3D. When I play with this, I like to take advantage. I like to make sure that when I do a park, that I set up all the features that were with the game. So even the 2D features kind of get a little love here. So, all right, 5L. Now the good thing is we auto arrange here. So that's pretty good. I mean, it's about as works out pretty well. Sometimes you might have to fix these little the wall left and right. Now the cool thing here is now we can do a copy of the current coordinates here. Go to the night picture and just do a paste, and then that's good. Go to 3D coordinates, which I don't know what the function of this one is, but we do a paste here as well because it's the same picture. And that basically saves us a few steps. So we get the coordinates done. So we got the 2D ball location, creating the park factors. I'm going to put this on hold for 1 second while I bring up the website that has the park factors, that can create the park factors. So hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So real quick, I just want to kind of do the ballpark factors here, which usually are created randomly or whatever. So I like to try to do these as accurately as possible, since they're not really provided for Aloha Stadium. I didn't really do most of my historical stadiums. I kind of used this process, but with the Nippon League, I kind of used the ones that came with the game, that were loaded automatically in the game when you load up the Nippon League. So what I did was, there's a website, the OOTP Park Generator, it's an awesome program created by Eric Jaffe. He is a user on the boards. He creates many mods as well. Very good on the graphics. So this was a great tool for the 2D diagram. Especially it's great for fictional leagues or whatever. But since I have my SketchUp diagrams, I just use that. So what this does is this assigns park factors right here. And depending on how the distance is and the wall heights. So what I'm going to do is, what you do is you basically fill this in. It doesn't have to fill everything. You want to put the right country, obviously. I think that's at the top, United States. And this is Hawaii, so it takes the location into account. So I think it's in Honolulu. Open ballpark, even with the turf. So that's what it looks like. Foul area, I would say it's average. Let's see. I don't really know how to judge it. I'd say average. You can judge your own. Sorry, go back to this. Altitude just gets set automatically. Capacity doesn't really matter. It's about 50,000. Now this actually creates. So you can see the factors get changed. So 325. This is 325. Right field is 333. You can type this in. 333, 375, 375, 8, 420, 8. So, it doesn't exactly resemble what the stadium looks like on the thing, but that's fine. So this is what really generates the park factors. So I use the distances basically from the walls here that we created, and then I basically kind of move this over, and I have to type in the left-handed, right-handed average park factors, which is 1.072 because it's symmetrical. So do 1.072, hit enter. You have to hit enter on these. 1.072, enter. Doubles and triples, 0.95 and 1.456. 0.950, enter 1.456. I believe that's what it was. Yep, 1.456. And then the home runs, 1.422 all around. 1.422. Oops, sorry. 1.422, enter. 1.422. So it seems like a pretty good home run park. Keep in mind this takes into account wind, how far the ball carries, left, center, and right. If you change these, you could actually affect the park factors as well. I don't really typically change these. Could depend on altitude, which seems to be at sea level, but the wind could be a factor from where the direction the wind is taking. There's the average wind 11. It must be blowing out every time. So it's a pretty good program. That's what I use for the park factors. So I have all this, and what do we have left on our list? Creating the park factors are done, so we're pretty much all done. The last thing I would like to do here, is to, before I package this up, is to export this to the PRK file. So we have everything, right? We may have to set the weather actually. This one we want to change the weather location to the United States, obviously. Type U, and then we just find Honolulu, Hawaii. Click that, and that'll just give us, see, there's our 11 average wind speed left to right. We just want to set that. So all the settings are created. We've got our 3D stadium, we've got the 2D settings, we've got everything, all the locations of the files are here. And so we want to go to Actions, export this parks data to a file, hit OK, and it sends it to the import-export of your saved game. So what I do is open up another window. It doesn't matter where. I'll just go to the save game directory. I believe this is New Game 2, it's called. Save games, import export, and here's my Aloha Stadium PRK file. And then what I do is I drag it right into my directory, and I'll package that up. So at this point we're done. Now what I do here is I can just basically select this whole thing, get rid of it, delete, and we're good with the stadium, right? Just save that off one more time. You can actually close it out, and so now we're looking at the files. Now I could just to go through a little house cleaning. So when you save a SketchUp model, it creates an SKB file, which I assume is just some sort of verification file it uses. I don't know, because I can't find any earthly purpose for it, but I delete it because it basically doubles the size of your file because of the SketchUp model. So just kind of highlight the SKB, delete that. Every time you save the SketchUp model, it's going to recreate that SKB. So just remember to delete it for the sake of keeping your zip files small as possible. So you have your diagram file, and you have the park file, which is important because that's what you use to import. just as an example, what I'll show you is I'll go to a different stadium. It has no information. Everything is basically blank again. Back to default. Actions, you want to do manually import data from file. Find the park file, load it, hit OK, and everything's bang, everything's right there. All your settings are created. And your ball locations are there, everything's there. So it's a very, very useful feature to use that PRK file, especially for people that will be importing your stadiums or downloading them. So that's the reason why I do that. So obviously you want to have everything else here. The OOTP 3D is basically your park grid and your camera angles all saved in that file. So that's basically a rundown of what we have. So what I do here now is I'll just take Aloha Stadium and I will add it to a raw file, zips it up, puts it at the bottom. It's about 23 megs. Now, very important also, when you're downloading them, now I've seen people have these issues where they are downloading and extracting my stadiums into their folder, but then they're getting black crowds because apparently it creates a second subdirectory, which I didn't know. Because what I do is I open up the zip files and I see here in the zip file, and what I do is I just click from within the zip file here. I just click the Aloha Stadium, drag this folder to my Ballparks directory, models directory. That's all I do. Now, if you do extract, I don't know if it creates some second folder somehow, but don't do that. It just makes it easier. Unless you know how to do it, I don't do that. I just kind of simply drag and drop. That's kind of my method, and I never had an issue with the black crowds using that way. So that's it, really. That's pretty much a lot of important information. Sorry, clicking wildly here. Sorry, I'm just going to close that. So that was a lot of useful information on how to get it into the game. I know a lot of people have always had questions about some of this stuff, and hopefully it's been very informative. So that ends this session, and I will put another session on how to do backgrounds or how to do the skyboxes. I will create another video on using Google Earth to do skyboxes, which is can get the background going. Works pretty good. Sometimes it's a little tough to get everything, but we'll cover that in the next video. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and talk soon.